friends, it's Christy. Welcome back to my channel. Today I've got a fun card for you guys using the Wild For You and Elfie Selfie stamp sets from Lawn Fawn. The images that I'm coloring are from Wild For You, so I stamped those on some Copic friendly cardstock in Memento Tuxedo black ink, and I'm going to be coloring with my Copic markers today. So I typically color elephants with either warm grays or cool grays, but today I wanted to mix it up and try a different combo. So I'm using E70, E71, and E74. And these are a very grayish brown, so I think they actually make a really good combo for elephants. I started with that E74 and did my shadows with that, a lot under his head and a little bit accenting his ears because they're a little bit set back on the sides of his head, and a little bit under his trunk as well. And then I'm blending with that E71 as my mid-tone, and then the E70 is going to be my lightest shade. I wanted to keep him more on the light side, so I did leave a lot of room for that E70. And, just kept my shadows to, just where I wanted those deepest, darkest places to be. I'm going to color the baby elephant just the same, adding a little bit of shadow under his head and around his legs, especially those back two legs since he's sitting down, and accenting those ears once again, and also around his trunk since it's covering his face. On that right side it would cast a shadow, so I wanted to make sure to have it be a little bit darker there. And then again blending out with the E71 and saving the E70 for my lightest shade. I'm bringing in the RV10 to add a pink tone to the insides of their ears. I'm just coloring right over top of that gray, and then I'm also giving them some rosy cheeks. Now that my elephants are dry, I'm going to go back in with my E74 and my E70 and do a little dot detail. This is going to add some texture that's going to give them that rougher elephant looking skin, and it's also just going to give them a little bit more personality as well. I like to keep my dots to the shadowed areas, so I kind of go right over top of the area where I had my darkest colors. And that way they kind of blend in a little bit and look a little more natural. For my butterfly, I'm using RV10 and RV14. I just started in the center with that RV14 and blended the edges with the RV10. Alright, so I'm sure you saw from the thumbnail of the video that I'm going to be making a camera-shaped card today. So to do that, I'm using an A2 standard size black card. This is black licorice cardstock from Lawn Fawn. And I'm using a T-square ruler to help me draw in that camera shape. So I'm doing a little bit of a line on the left and the right, and then curving that up towards the spine of the card so that when I trim off that excess, the card will still stay together. And because I used a standard size card, it's going to fit in a regular envelope and be able to be mailed just like any other card. And it is actually very flat in the end as well. There's nothing that's going to be popped up, so it'll be really easy to mail. There's also probably other ways that you could do this. You could probably use a label die or something to cut out that shape at the top, but I don't have anything like that, and I just wanted to keep it really quick and simple for you guys. To decorate the front of my camera, I'm taking a strip of really rainbow pattern paper and adhering that down to some light gray cardstock that is cut to the same width as the card but slightly shorter, so when I adhere it you're going to have a black strip at the top and bottom. You could really do anything here. You could mix it up and do any combination of cardstock and pattern paper or one or the other, just because there's so many varieties and styles of cameras out there. Next, I'm going to take a die from Sweet Christmas just to cut a little button into the front of the panel here. And again, I just kind of flipped through all my Lawn Fawn sets and looked for something that would work. But you could also just trim something out of some cardstock, or, there's, like I said, there's so many different styles of cameras that you can really play with this. And as long as you have the basic shape of the camera, you're going to be good. So I'm going to adhere this panel down to the camera card now, and now you can kind of see how that's coming together and beginning to look even more like a camera. I'm going to add a little flash, and this I die cut using the letter from Gleeful Gardens. Again, just look through your stash or just trim out a small piece of cardstock if that's what works for you. So I'm going to adhere that down in the top right corner. And then I'm going to dig out a tool I haven't used in quite a while, and that is my We Are Memory Keepers corner chomper. I'm using the 1/4 inch setting and just rounding all 4 corners to kind of give it a softer shape. Now I have a circle that I die cut using the Lawn Fawn circle stackables, and then I have a grassy border strip as well, so I'm going to adhere that down to the bottom, trim off the excess, and then take that and add a second layer right behind. I'm just going to add a tiny bit of glue to the bottom and tuck it behind the first one just to kind of fill that up a little bit more. I held that together for a few seconds until it dried, and then I flipped over the panel and trimmed off any excess that was hanging over the edges. I had trimmed out my elephants and butterfly with the matching dies, and I'm going to adhere those down to my scene. Starting with the mama elephant, I'm going to tuck her in behind the grass. And then I'll add my baby elephant right beside her. He's actually going to be set right behind her so that her trunk can be in front, but I just want to make sure that it's not overlapping the baby's eye. And then I'll add the butterfly in the top right. Again, I'm going to trim off any excess that hangs over the edge. And then I can grab my camera lens, and for that I used another of the Lawn Fawn circle stackables and the lift the flap circles. So it has that nice score line at the top and the stitching detail around the inside edge. So I just used my thumbnail to get that fold going, and now I'm going to add a very thin bead of glue around that thin border that is along the edges and at the top as well above that fold line. I don't want any glue anywhere else or my flap won't open. I'm going to line up that bottom panel right where I want it and then set the lens down right over top, and they fit together perfectly. I'll just press that down into place to make sure that the glue is adhering to the outside edge. I'm going to embellish the lens cap with a heart that I die cut using the Lawn Fawn Stitch Party Banners dies, and then I'm going to set an acrylic block over the entire thing to help it dry nice and flat. Now that it is dry, I'm going to adhere that down to the center of my card front. So I'm just adding a nice thin bead of glue, and I'm going to pop that down right in the middle. Make sure that that's lined up nice and straight. And now that the lens is on there, you can see that it really does look like a camera. I'm going to stamp a liner for the inside of the card using some more of that light gray cardstock and some Lawn Fawn Manatee ink. And now I'm using the little elephant from Elfie Selfie and the sentiment, "You take the best selfies," which I thought went really well with the whole concept. Stamp that down a couple of times to get a really good impression. And now I'm going to take the little camera image and the flash marks and the word "click" and just stamp that down as well so that it looks like the little elephant is taking a selfie. There's not really room on the front of the card for a sentiment, but I thought it would be fun to just stamp that word "click" on the front in a few different places. So I'm using my MISTI to make sure that I get the right placement, and I'm just going to shift that a couple of times until I have it stamped 3 times on the front. I'm going to open up my card and glue down my insert, so this will give me a nice big place to write my message to my recipient. If you didn't want to do this, you could also use a white gel pen on the black cardstock, but I think the insert just gives it a little bit more polish. And I did round the corners on that as well to match. As a final embellishment, I'm going to take a tiny red enamel dot and add it right to the left of the flash. So that could be like the on-off light or a record light, whatever you want it to be. It's not supposed to be technical, it's a handmade card, but just something there that I thought would add another pop of color and just finish off the card nicely. And that is going to complete our card for today. There's another peek at the inside and a look at our little elephants underneath our camera lens flap. So I think this card came out really cute and it was super quick and easy to make. So let me know down in the comments if you would try something like this out. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I would love to have your support. You can also click that notification bell to be sure that my videos always end up in your feed. Here's 2 extra videos that'll hopefully tide you over until my next one. Until then, I hope you all have an amazing day. Bye-bye.